Hello. Welcome to Tuesday night, and the night we've been waiting for. The battle is about to begin. I am Scott, your producer. I can't even say producer correctly. This is going to go well. Producer. I put an SH in there. So that's how tonight's going. I'm going to be your referee and host of tonight's festivities. So we're not going to delay much longer. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. Coming over to the battle screen here. You weren't supposed to see either of those guys yet, so goodbye.
Oh okay. Off to a great start.
Already off to a fantastic start. Let's go ahead and get our first competitor introduced.
Oh, my God.
Our first competitor this evening hails from parts unknown and is the first person to tell you that he knows all the facts. Coming in at 5'10" and weighing 150 pounds of straight-up sexy. He zigs, he zags, he's the Zerd Rush in the night. I have no idea what that meant. He is the unstoppable Z!
What you gonna do when Orc you runs over you, brother?
What? All right, I'm drunk. What just happened?
Joining Z tonight as tag team partner and secondary support will be Noob-Noob.
I'm the best!
The crowd's already booing.
No, the crowd is not booing. Have you seen my character? I'd play with myself all night.
You're talking about the wrestling character?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I think a lot of people are playing with you all night.
Yeah.
And the challenger, hailing from the great state of Pennsylvania, creator of Next Level Podcast Networks. He's hosted more panels than a comic strip and has more podcasts than I do. He's the Wilhelm scream you hear when you thought you were alone. Ben.
I almost choked on that first one.
You're gonna show him?
I know. See, we're already off to like a fantastic start.
There we go. None of that worked properly the way it was supposed to, so we're already off to a fantastic start.
You do my intro, you don't show my face. The odds are already stacked against me.
Actually, before I showed your face, I made them disappear again, so I'm all over the place with these screens. They're set up fantastic. So, gentlemen, you know the rules. There are no rules, and the points don't matter.
I was gonna say there's rules?
There are none, and the points don't matter. Tonight, we are talking the Justice League universe. We're going to go through Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, both Wonder Woman's, Aquaman, and Shazam are all on the table for
What about Green Lantern?
No, we don't talk about Green Lantern.
Oh, that doesn't exist.
We don't talk about Green Lantern.
That's a point for us.
Well,
automatically.
I wouldn't know Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey.
Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, they're all in there.
They're all DCEU.
I agree.
We're just basing this off of the Justice League universe.
Points for both.
Or are you talking about? Are you talking about the Snyderverse, or are we talking about the DCEU? Are we talking about
very different
DC movies? Are we talking about Batman '89?
It's very obvious we went over what we're going to cover before we actually started recording.
I actually thought I did go over that with each side individually, but
you did.
Apparently, that's all getting thrown out the window.
I did not listen. What are we talking about?
Marvel.
Avengers Age of Ultron.
Great.
James Spader and you look just alike.
That's a
compliment. Yeah,
he gets points for that.
I look like Ryan Reynolds, but slightly fatter.
No, that's a loss of points for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna go because we're already.
Ben should have got a point for looking like James Spader.
He did. Ben's already got a point for looking like James Spader.
Yeah.
Noob-Noob's lost 2 points, and looking at that shirt Noob-Noob's wearing, he's losing 2 more. You guys are off to a fantastic start. I will be awarding points for salient conversations and ideas and concepts and good points that you guys make. That's how you will get scores. The chat will also be involved. If I see a good comment in the chat, we'll pause, we'll bring that in, and we'll award points to the side the comment is arguing for. In order to keep somewhat of a consistent theme going here, we're going to kind of categorize it. I think we're going to start out with the villains. Gentlemen, the question is, are the villains worthy and do they create an appealing story? All movies are on the table. Why don't we start tonight with our challenger, Mr. Beck?
All right. So here, there's a big difference. When we decided to do this face-off about everything DCEU, because when I was on last time and we were talking about WandaVision, I talked a lot of shit about Snyderverse, specifically Man of Steel, BVS, and the original.
I thought we were going to kind of limit this to Snyderverse because I know you're a Snyder hater. I'm not even a DC guy. I'm more of a Marvel guy, but I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder. So I think that's maybe we should frame it from that perspective. Because would you say you're a Zack Snyder hater?
No, and I think that's a fair assessment, only because of the fact that I fucking love Shazam. I think Shazam is one of the best DC movies they've put out there.
We can agree.
The original Suicide Squad, James Gunn's version is going to be a fucking masterpiece. But I liked the last one we got. I enjoyed Birds of Prey. I enjoyed the first Wonder Woman, while Wonder Woman 84 was garbage. Wait, do you disagree or agree?
No, I think Wonder Woman 84 is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Okay, we're in agreement there too. Yeah, most of my issues come from Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. And we agreed to do all this before I watched the Snyder Cut.
Oh. So
it was whether or not, and then Scott even said it too before we brought it up, he's like, if you enjoy the Snyder Cut, this is going to make things very difficult. And
how much did you touch yourself
while watching or after?
So let me preface every conversation we have.
His points every time he opens his mouth.
So let me preface this entire conversation before we dive into anything by saying that while I enjoyed the Snyder Cut, it is far from a masterpiece that all these fans online and people who want to suck Zack Snyder's dick are making it out to be. There are a lot of flaws in the Snyder Cut as well. It's not as bad as Whedon's.
No, Whedon's is an abomination. Great. That could be also the worst movie that I've ever seen. Because I watched it like 3 times in the past month, and it is just bad.
Well,
bad.
That being said, it still does not fix the problems of Man of Steel and BVS, which are both still garbage.
They're okay. They're both better than every other movie in the DCU, but
in the MCU.
And the MCU. Well, the Snyder trilogy is easily better than anything Marvel has put together in a trilogy.
You are out of your mind.
Nope.
You are out of your mind.
Keep
talking because you're losing points.
What trilogy, though? There's been several trilogies. What trilogy stands up to the Zack Snyder trilogy?
Oh my God, I'm not a big Nolan fan, but Nolan's Batman trilogy is
that doesn't.
better.
We're just talking, I guess, MCU. Nolan's on a different level than everybody, so he's playing in a different ballpark.
I would put almost. The
Thor trilogy is better than the Snyder trilogy.
If you take out Dark World.
You can't maybe.
Though. And Ragnarok.
Well then, no, it doesn't.
And Thor.
Okay.
No, I'm not take out Ragnarok and Thor. Ragnarok's one of the best Marvel movies they've made.
It's okay. I think it's actually cheapened with time, but sure.
What, Ragnarok?
Yeah,
I disagree with that. But we're talking. So I read an article right when Justice League came out, or right before it came out, of somebody saying in 4 hours, Zack Snyder did something, put together something that was better than the entire Avengers saga. And that right there is a prime example of someone who purely says what he says because he just wants to suck Zack's dick. I'm not pulling any punches language wise, so I hope.
It's better than
the first two.
It's better than the first two. It's definitely not. I don't think it's better than Infinity War.
This guy said Avengers Saga, meaning Iron Man to Endgame.
That's insane. No,
that doesn't make sense.
It's like this guy is out of his mind.
That's why I was trying to hold it to trilogies, because if no one can ever duplicate 21, 22 movies in succession that are all at least like a 60 and above, at least from a Rotten Tomatoes perspective, and not even that doesn't even matter. The point is they're just, even their worst movies are still pretty good. Like The Dark World is not a bad movie. It's just not up to snuff with everything else. Like it's very weak villains.
I mean, and that's why a lot of people say that like Dark World and Iron Man 3 are horrible movies. They're not horrible movies. It's just when you pit them against the rest of the MCU, they look bad. They look worse than they actually are. But I would still watch Dark World and Iron Man 3 before I watch Man of Steel again.
See, I would say if you think about, let's go villains though. I think Zod is a really great villain. Who the heck's the villain of Batman versus Superman?
Batman and Superman.
Batman and Superman. That's a little weak.
Well, Luther would technically be the. I think Luther would be the villain.
Luthor, not Doomsday. That's not a thing.
Doomsday is terrible. We're going to ignore Doomsday.
You guys are helping my arguments here about how horrible these movies are.
Doomsday is the one flaw in that movie.
The third act is weak.
Okay, let's not consider the fact that I don't know if this is horrible writing or just a shitty military, but let's take a moment. I know we're already getting off topic of the villains. Oh no, we're kind of not, because it's focusing on Doomsday. The fact that Doomsday was created from Zod is already complete horseshit. Let's get rid of that.
Yes, well, I'll agree.
And then the fact that when Superman carries Doomsday up into the upper atmosphere, the military decides to fire a nuke at them. A nuke is not used to fire at a moving target. How inept is this military?
Heat-seeking nuke.
There are no heat-seeking nukes.
It's a huke.
It's a huke.
There's no such thing.
It's a hukin.
So, because I think I mentioned it last time I was on, that there is a fan cut of BVS and Man of Steel together called Man of Tomorrow. That it cuts them down to a 2.5 hour long movie that's much more cohesive, and I'll watch it any day of the week. But even that, like when I was watching that before I watched the Snyder Cut, and when he fired the nuke, I'm like, wait a minute. Nukes are not fired at moving targets. Like, this is a completely inept military or horrible writing on Zack Snyder's part.
I would say that's a little nitpicky. That's a little because you have to remember, we have to suspend some disbelief here, because we're talking about like world-ending super machines that are trying to terraform the world. Like, this is not our Earth. This is an alternate universe. So as someone who does, look, I'm pretty hard on movies and I'll critique them. When it comes to these type of movies with suspension of disbelief, unless it's a logical fallacy, I usually let that stuff go. Like, because we don't know what their technology is really. Like, I get what you're saying. I just think that in this particular circumstance, you're talking about two superhumans smashing buildings. Like, I think whether or not a nuke can track something, like Batman's vehicles alone kind of shed doubt on that anyway, because Batman's got a flying whale. Like, I don't know that those exist. Like, does anyone ever seen a flying whale before?
All right. I mean, you make a valid point. This suspension of belief is required for any superhero movie, Marvel, DC, any of the outer ones as well. Yeah, and I guess when you're so against the film, it's a lot easier to find those nitpicks.
You don't think, like, and even Steppenwolf, just by a simple change and adding some scenes, I think it took Steppenwolf from being probably worse than any MCU character into one that was actually kind of intriguing. Especially, like, you want to wait against Ragnarok. Cate Blanchett, who I thought tried her best to make that character multidimensional, just landed totally flat. And that movie just, if you really look at that movie, there's not a lot of depth to it. It's really kind of just like, ooh, look, we did some really cool, unique designs. It looks just like the comic book. But when you cut all the layers away, there's just not much there.
All right. Ignoring how much I think you're wrong in that statement about Cate Blanchett and that character, I will. They
didn't even do her justice. She's an amazing actress. I love the character. I like her design, but they gave her no character arc. She's like, I'm bad. I want to destroy the world.
I will give you that Snyder. The one thing that Snyder did do that I did, it's one of the things I did enjoy about the Snyder Cut, is that you're right. He gave Steppenwolf a little more depth as a villain. It was less, I'm just here to collect mother boxes and take over this planet, and more, I'm doing this as a redemption to a higher power, that being Darkseid. I'm trying to make up for mistakes I made in the past. It almost gave Steppenwolf a little bit of humanity, if that makes sense.
No, he came off. I've heard a lot of critics say, I don't know why, but I felt bad for him.
I did, and I was the same way. Steppenwolf was a horrible villain in Snyder's version, and there's two things that I feel kind of got swapped between Snyder's version and Whedon's version. I meant Whedon's version first.
Yeah,
Whedon's version, Steppenwolf had no depth. He was a pointless villain.
Mother,
he was a pointless villain. But Whedon also gave some humanity back to the characters, Superman in particular. It's one of the things I actually enjoyed about Whedon's version.
There's nothing to enjoy about Whedon's version, but continue.
Okay,
yes,
I disagree, but we'll get to that.
Tell me it's the brunch jokes, because then you're going to have to lose a lot of points for that.
No, it's not the brunch jokes. But Snyder's version kind of took that, reversed that. He gave some humanity to Steppenwolf, but I also feel like he kind of took some away from the heroes. In particular, during the end fight, in, I guess it's supposed to be Chernobyl. They never actually mention it by name, I don't think, in either film.
No, it's basically Chernobyl.
I think it's supposed to be Chernobyl.
It is a different name though. They do name the power plant, and they said it was a meltdown 3 years before.
Okay,
but yeah, it's supposed to be their version of. But they did name the town. I don't remember what it is either.
That ranks because DC tends to change the names. They don't use actual city names, so that makes sense that they didn't mention it as Chernobyl. But I forget the point. Oh, so in Whedon's version, and I know some people disagree with me on this, and that's fine if you disagree with me on this, but when there's the scenes with Superman and Flash rescuing all the people that live in the surrounding area, that brought some humor, that brought some humility, that brought some humanity to the characters.
That was a cheeseball. That was a little bit of a cheeseball sight gag.
But I'm okay with cheeseball sight gags in a movie that's so fucking dark. Like, it doesn't need to be that dark the entire time. No, it really... Superman is not a dark character.
And this
Are you
version
sure
he
about
is.
that? Because here's a thing I'm going to fight back on a lot of people, because I keep hearing people want to compare it to the old Supermans, the old Donner cuts. You do realize that in the Donner cut, in both versions of Superman 2, he kills Zod and all of those guys. He kills them.
Okay.
He 100%.
He just does it with a
them.
smile instead of crying.
It's left open to interpretation.
No, it's not. They burn.
No.
He sends them down into an endless cavern.
They're
not arrested. That never happens.
He sends them down into a cavern, into an abyss.
An endless abyss.
Is that death, though?
Oh, I'm pretty sure
Well,
it is.
endless and abyss are not great.
You don't see him get arrested at the end.
Okay,
that's for sure.
Regardless, let's make another comparison to the Donner cuts. And this is where I have my biggest issue when it comes to Superman. There is, in Man of Steel, there is the entire battle in Smallville and Metropolis where there's destruction galore all over the place.
That was amazing.
It's not, though, because that's not Superman's character. It's completely out of... Because
any different from the Avengers? Tell me, how did the Avengers prevent New York from getting absolutely framed?
The difference is in the Avengers, when there's all that destruction and everything,
they have a joke.
It's incorporated into the story in that this is what happens when they're not put in check. That it's because of the Sokovia Accords, which leads to Civil War, which leads to further and progressing the storyline. There's absolutely nothing. There's no consequences. There's no nothing.
Really? So when BVS opens, and it has the opening line that says, "The world is introduced to the Superman," and the mere concept of two superhuman beings who are virtually gods fighting it, like the ramifications of that are everyone could potentially die. And I think they do a really Snyder, because he did it twice. He did it in BVS, where he reframed the end of one movie and reframed it, and then did it in the Snyder cut where he reframed Superman's death, where Superman's death and BVS okay, that was not like so impactful to me. But when I watched it in the Snyder cut, I was like, you could see the anguish, the grief, and the shock in Batman's face, in Wonder Woman's face, and then his scream that goes around the world. Like, you're talking, like I think that's actually a brilliant piece of filmmaking where he reframes what happened in the previous movie to give you, the audience, a different perspective. Because if you watch Man of Steel and you're watching this rampant destruction, you're just like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on here? But then in the next movie, he reframes it and shows you the ground level where, where's Batman at? Batman was there, and Batman watched his friends and his colleagues die. as he tried to rescue people.
But when you compare the ramifications of everything when it comes to that, making the comparison from DC to Avengers, yes, there's destruction.
They dropped a city
there's
on
Sokovia,
the Earth.
And you find out because of that, the world is kind of against the Avengers, which creates the Sokovia Accords, which leads to all the future of the MCU. But then in DC, what's the worst that happens? Batman comes out of retirement. Like, that's bullshit. Like,
they have like Senate hearings, and they're kind of like
they literally
he should be held accountable. The whole point of BVS, the first half of BVS was like accountability for Superman. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they literally hold a trial for him. It's not his fault that Luthor blows it up.
Yeah, but I think
that's you've never seen anything. I think the difference is people aren't used to what he's trying to do and what he's showing you, and I think it gets lost because people don't like the spectacle on some level. And I think that the themes it's jarring to see Superman stand there and watch an entire room of people get vaporized and not be able to do anything about it. I think that's not the Superman they're used to seeing. They're used to seeing Superman freaking save everybody. And this Superman is struggling to save. He's not even sure he wants to be part of humanity, let alone save it. And I think what he's showing you is that arc of him going from someone who is, struggled as a child and all those different things, and the scenes with his father being like, I don't know if you should really help the world. You should be your own man. And then they slowly come to the realization, especially when he meets Jor-El, his father, that no, there is hope in the world. You can impact it. You can save people. I mean, he saves the entire freaking world by himself from that world devastator machine. And I think in the Snyderverse, people realize that because they erect monuments to them just because it's slapped with a brighter coat of paint in the Avengers, you see the Avengers are turned on because the government doesn't like the fact that they can't control the Avengers, which I think is a very strange narrative for people to get behind versus the Snyder message. And I think that those differing messages are so different that people are like, oh, I don't really like to see that, where I can relate better because I think Whedon makes his message easier and more palatable to understand.
I understand that. I mean, I really do. And I think that actually, believe it or not, I think they are a lot of great points. I think a lot of my issues with Snyder don't actually stem from BVS. They stem from Man of Steel itself. There are a lot of issues I have with Man of Steel. And I think they kind of just rolled over into BVS because there are elements of BVS I enjoy. I think Affleck is one of the best fucking Batman we've ever had.
Did you like the Ultimate Cut?
I never watched the Ultimate Cut.
Oh, you're a disappointment. You lose points.
Why would I want
to? You're judging a movie by not watching the definitive cut.
Oh, that is a good point, though. I've seen several critics, including, and I'm going to quote one, the Critical Drinker, who did a breakdown of this, and he's not the biggest Snyder fan in the world, but he did say that if you watch the Snyder Cut, it reframes what you should have watched.
The
ultimate cut. The Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Oh, okay.
He said if you understand that here's what Warner Brothers wanted to do, and you have the theatrical releases, the 3 theatrical releases, which are not that good. But if you look the director's cut and the Ultimate Edition, the director's cut of Man of Steel, the Ultimate Edition of BVS, and then the Snyder Cut, his vision becomes much clearer than it did based on studio interference.
I do need to interject on that. I actually was having this conversation with somebody the other day. If you look at what the Marvel Universe did, you're looking at 20 years and 800 movies. Check my math. I know it's right.
Yes.
That's a lot of movie and a lot of story to convey to get across, which is why everyone loves everything that Marvel did. If you look at what DC's done, and you look at the director's cut of BVS, and then now this 4-hour-long cut of Justice League. Originally, we only had the original version of BVS, which was only an hour. The director's cut was 3 hours. The original Justice League was 2 hours. The new version is 16 hours. So
great, man.
So what you have now is between the director's cut and the new version of and the Snyder cut, you have 20 hours of movie, which is what was originally intended, which could have been
2,000 hours of movie.
But that could have been 7 or 8 movies. So what the DC universe was trying to do was the same thing Marvel was doing, but Marvel just had time on their side because they started this 10 years sooner. Where
it does feel rushed.
If DC took their time, Yeah, if DC took their time and put out 10 movies, then it could have been as good as what Marvel did. It could have been, and that's what you saw. That's what Zack Snyder was trying to do. Unfortunately, movies that he made that were 3 and 4 hours long, respectively, were cut down to an hour and a half and 2 hours.
If they would have went in chronological order and Wonder Woman 84 came out before Justice League or BVS, you'd have been like, fuck this universe.
Yeah, not
fuck this movie.
Wishing Stones, no thank you.
Well, I mean, Wonder Woman 84 was basically their attempt at what Marvel did with Captain Marvel. I mean, you took.
I don't know what that was.
You took a story. You took a female empowered character. You gave her an origin story, but you set it back before everybody else. You know, and so you had Captain Marvel that took place in the 90s, and you had Wonder Woman 84 that took place in 84. Which, by the way, with the exception of a couple outfits and a fanny pack, there's no fucking 80s in that movie whatsoever.
The mall scene was very 80s.
It wasn't an 80s movie. It's not like Stranger Things that you actually get the essence of the 80s. It's definitely
you get the
lacking.
soundtrack, you get the references. There's none of that in Wonder Woman 84.
No, just disappointment.
I mean, and let's put aside the fact that she's literally having sex with some other dude's body.
Oh, that's great.
She's a rapist.
Like, come on, like
in a therapist
in a Me Too movement, fucking women are all for
it's
this.
Directed and written by a woman too.
I know.
Those feminists.
She Me Too'd that guy hard.
Yes, she did.
God.
Yeah,
there's so many issues with.
She Whedon Cassidy couching him.
Well, here's what I think. What I want to say though about the difference between the two universes, I think structurally, the MCU is and their success and what they've done is better than anything DC has done. From a thematic point, though, I think that Snyder did a better job across the board weaving together a fascinating layers of a theme that cuts across the three movies, which I found to be pretty poignant.
Maybe it's just the fact because I mean you're talking to somebody who literally grew up their entire life with Superman. I mean, my Superman stems from the animated series, Lois and Clark, Smallville. Like obviously the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, with the exception of Superman 4. We don't talk about Superman 4. That's just ridiculous. So and read the comic books. Like I read The Death of Superman, and I got
it signed by the inker. I waited in line for 2 hours to get, I think his name is Brett Breeding, to sign my copy of Death of Superman.
Yeah, I mean,
I was there.
Like when they announced that comic book was happening, like, no, you can't kill Superman. Like, what is this? And you read it, and it's an amazing piece of literature. Everything they did with it, from the way he died to like the return. And it creating even new characters in, John Irons and Superboy and the Eradicator. Like it brought in new characters in the way they did it. So like I've always had an impression of what Superman was supposed to be. And then Snyder comes along and it's completely different. He didn't make it better though, in my opinion.
I would say it's different. You know what version he made? And I just think this might be, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but have you ever heard the monologue from Kill Bill when Bill describes who Superman is?
I know I've heard it. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
So his interpretation, and I don't know who wrote this, and I feel like it's probably plagiarized from somebody somewhere. So I can plagiarize it too. You could look it up if you were not useless. Right. But his essential argument is that what makes Superman different from everyone else is that, from all the other superheroes, is that Superman's fake identity is not Clark Kent is not who he is. He really is the alien. Mm-hmm. And his perception, Clark Kent is his perception of who humans think he should be, which is a weak and stumbling and bumbling idiot. But when he's Superman, that's who it's who he's born. He's wearing the clothing of his home world when he goes out as Superman, but he pretends to be this weak human because that's how he views humanity. And I think maybe that stuck somewhere with Zack Snyder when he watched that movie and was like, or maybe in Chris Terrio, who people, some people hate him, some people like him, but I think there's more to the movie than people give credit for. And if we get to a theme part, we can talk about that. Do you want to read this, or what do you?
The whole thing. You want me to start from the beginning?
Well, is this too much? Should we not read this?
It's
really
long.
Really good.
It's long.
I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Do you want to do it or no? Scott, stop paying attention.
Yeah, I can do it. No, I had my mic muted because I was doing some audio stuff over here. We're reading the quote from the Kill Bill line.
I just think this is kind of a definitive definition of Superman, which I found to be it's my favorite, one of my favorite monologues of all time, and one of my favorite comic book moments in movies that are not comic book movies. Kill Bill, I don't necessarily consider a comic book movie. That could be debatable. But it just like what's that one? The Unbreakable with Mr. Glass. That has a great comic book moment too, because he owns the comic book shop. Like, you know, when he's discussing villains and how they're drawn, like those things are like my favorite things in movies. I love those little bits. Do you want to? Is there any line in there that you read that you thought was good, or are you just gonna stare at the wall?
Yeah, no staring at the wall. Probably thinking about how great Snyder is.
Here's the best line: when Superman wakes up in the morning, he's Superman. His alter ego is Clark Kent. And I think that kind of gives and that's where I think Zack Snyder looked at it from. This guy's really an alien. Like he's an alien through and through, and he struggles to be the Clark Kent, you know. And I find that to be, he took it to the extreme though, because that's kind of a Zack Snyder thing, right?
And
extreme.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that assessment of Superman, because that really is who he is. He was born an alien. He came to this planet as an alien, and he took up Clark Kent as his secret identity. He wasn't his secret identity and became a hero. He was the hero who became Clark Kent. Like that's the big difference. But Wonder Woman is also the same way. Wonder Woman was brought up as an Amazon, and when she came to the world of man, took on the identity of Diana. Well, Diana Prince is her name, but she took on. Is she
ever really an alter ego though? Like I almost feel like that's not even a thing, which I thought was weird to put in 84.
She is, because in BVS and Justice League, she's Diana Prince, the museum worker. Nobody knows her as Wonder Woman.
But I feel like that's kind of just like it's barely an alter ego for her.
Superman's also not a rapist, so
this is true.
There are a lot of differences there.
Here's the line Z that I think you want to really focus on, and it does cover all the superheroes, and leads into the next part of our debate here, because we're pretending we're having a debate. Are the heroes?
Doc says that you're a blind ref.
We're talking about the heroes, and Doc says, "Yeah, not paying attention." No, I'm paying attention here. So here's the line that I think says everything else. Now, the staple of superhero mythology is there's a superhero and there's an alter ego. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker. When a character wakes up in the morning, he's Peter Parker. He has to put on a costume to become Spider-Man. And in that characteristic, Superman stands alone. Superman didn't become Superman. Superman was born Superman.
Yeah, he never had an accident. And I guess you could say the same, like Wonder Woman was created. So there's something, you know, I could see, I like that speech, and there might be some hollow.
But there is a little bit of a flaw to that though, because he was not born Superman. On his planet, he was born normal. Like he was normal on his planet. It wasn't until he came to this planet that
he didn't know.
I'm not saying this was in his control, but I'm just saying also when he arrived on this planet, he was raised Clark Kent. He became Superman later.
Yeah, but isn't he, when they find him in the spaceship, isn't he like he did an incredible feat of strength?
He's exhibiting abilities.
So they knew, and they know it's very clear to the parents that he is an alien, and they're attempting to raise him as Clark Kent. But no matter what they do, he's still
you're still absolutely right. As of today, he wakes up Superman and he dons Clark Kent. That's the difference. But yeah, I mean, I like that about everything too, and that's something I've always known about Superman, and that's one of the reasons why I've always been so infatuated with the character pretty much throughout my entire life, is that it's that way. I mean, you look at but I mean, again, like I'm basing my judgment on Man of Steel and the character of Superman we get in Man of Steel on everything I've come up with and been raised with.
Yeah.
You know, which has always been a bright happy Boy Scoutish attitude, and yes, sometimes he can be kind of flawed at the same time. But again, this leads me to another really big issue I had with Man of Steel, and that is the death of Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Kent's death in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel was done completely wrong.
I was way over the top, but
it was great.
It was pretty great.
I had goosebumps.
You get
goosebumps.
He saves his dog, but the dad's like, no.
But the dad's like, no.
That was a strong moment. That was emotional.
Dude, you don't get the feels from that scene.
No, I don't, because here's my reasoning why.
You're dead inside.
You are dead inside.
I'm not dead inside. Here is my reasoning behind why that scene does not work.
His brains out in that
By
scene.
holding up his hand, he's not acting out his.
Oh my god, dude, the feels.
I have goosebumps right now.
Just thinking about it.
It's like a lightning bolt hit the tip of my penis.
Yeah. Oh god.
Wait, we just lost points.
Here is why, in my opinion, that scene does not work. You have just exhibited a man dying that could have been prevented. Absolutely could have been prevented.
That was the point.
Sure. That's the point.
That's the point.
That's the lesson.
But see, when you compare it though to the death of Jonathan Kent from the Christopher Reeves movie, a heart attack. Here's the reason why that's so much more dominant and so much more like meaningful is because don't even say nope. I didn't even give you my point yet. It showed that no matter how strong, how fast, how powerful he was, he could not save everybody.
Nope.
It brought humanity to the character of Superman.
Nope.
Yeah, don't tell me no, because there's nothing wrong about that.
This was a choice. He literally.
It was a horrible choice. You let your father die. You could have saved him.
His father told him that because he didn't want him to.
Because you believed in his message so much, you let him die.
Yeah, and that's one of the. If are we going to themes? Because we can hit some themes.
Let me ask this then: was Father Kent a horrible person then? Because when Superman in the movie saves the bus of children and he says, "What shall I have done? Let them die." Dad Kent was like, yes, let a bus of children die.
But that's the theme of the movie is you have these two opposing forces between Pa Kent's message and Jor-El's message. Jor-El's message, he sent him there. He's the reverse Jesus because he's not born of immaculate conception. He's born of
vaginal penetration.
You just undermine every point I'm trying to make.
You got a point, and then you lost a point right there.
It's so funny. Every time Noob-Noob says stuff like that, I just go immediately. My eyes go right for the point scoreboard to see what happens.
You're killing me, man.
You actually, here's the best part. You started in the negative. You were almost -10. You would be tied right now. Would have had an impressive lead for a little bit there, if not for Noob-Noob talking.
I can't even.
Am I wrong?
You understand though the point? No, you're just undermining my point. So you see what? So he's deliberately the reverse Christ character. You know what I mean? Like he's intentionally done that way. So then you've got the two opposing viewpoints between the father who's trying to protect his son from being exploited by the world to Jor-El who says, no, you are the mission of hope. You're the mission of hope that Krypton deserved, that we never gave you the chance for. You could be the hope of Earth.
And a lot of good it did, because in the next fucking movie, he's exploited by Lex Luthor in the name of Martha.
Oh, you can't go Martha because you're going to fall right into my trap for the next theme. So the people who have issue with Martha don't understand.
I actually don't have issue with Martha.
Okay,
I just think it's funny.
Because people who complain about that bother me, because if you in BVS, the first scene is the last words of his father are Martha. And usually Batman is framed from the perspective of being in the shadow of his parents, but also, more importantly, in the shadow of his father, who is this mighty philanthropist who was, a god figure in Gotham, right? He was a billionaire or whatever, millionaire, billionaire, can be debated,
Billionaire.
right? Well, it's in the old times he was a millionaire.
Well.
Anyway, he was a doctor, a businessman, and he had set up all these different things to save Gotham, which clearly he didn't do because then it fell into crime-ridden Gotham that it is. But instead of framing it from the father's perspective, they frame it from the mother's perspective. So now you have them worried about, like, they have commonality that they actually, Batman has a reason to save his mom because he never got to save his mom. He now can save Superman's mom. He can redeem himself in some level. And I think the themes that travel between those movies, where you have the decisions of fathers, to framing it from mother's perspective, to Justice League, which is actually the relationship between sons and fathers, is actually quite powerful. If you look back at the overall themes and you look at the concurrent theme through all those three movies, and you think about those relationships, how they're fundamentally created to weigh these relationships, that's the travesty of the Whedon cut. That theme to where both Barry and Cyborg, and more importantly Cyborg, his relationship with his father is defining not only to his character arc, but to the movie itself. And that's one thing that I was saying that critics haven't talked about, and they haven't noticed that there's a concurrent theme across this trilogy that I think is actually really powerful.
But again, I mean, going back to the whole thing about, Jonathan Kent's death being... What are they doing? I'll let it go.
Yes, thank you.
But again, not to undercut the point, because you make a really good point. But the fact of, saying, like, Jonathan Kent's sacrifice, which could have been prevented very easily, I might add, was for the sake of Clark not being exploited by man. But again, like, okay, that's great if that was the point of it, but it was completely undone in the next movie, because what happens? Superman is exploited by man.
But that's because he doesn't have the guidance of
years later.
First off, he doesn't have the guidance of his father anymore.
It's not years later. It's like months later.
No, it's not.
No, it's definitely years later, because he died when he was a teenager, I think.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like
years later from the death. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
from the death of his father.
Yes. Okay. I'm thinking I thought you meant like BVS was years after Man of Steel.
No, John and dying from BVS. Yeah, years.
But again, like, there's so much importance to the Jonathan Kent dying of a heart attack element of the story that I feel like was completely undone by this movie, because again, what that showed was that no matter how powerful Superman is, no matter how powerful Clark was, he can't save everybody. That one thing right there brought more humanity to the character of Superman than anything else has so far. But because without that bit of humanity, he's nothing more than a god.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but I would say that in Man of Steel specifically, the death of the death of his father sets him on a path to find his humanity, because that's how Lois finds him. She finds this man who's been wandering around the world, essentially saving people for no reason other than because he can, but he hasn't quite discovered his connection, why he feels like he should be a human, his anchor, and because it's furthering the plot in the long run, it essentially becomes Lois. That's what becomes his humanity, his conscience. That's who she symbolically becomes, because clearly the death of Lois breaks him and changes everything else. So
yeah, I'm not even.
And whether or not
I was going to say, I'm not even going to go into how useless that nightmare sequence is in the Snyder cut.
Oh my god.
The only thing I'll say though, it is, but I like the fact that it's the third. If you put them all together, the three nightmare sequences, and you go, would you be interested in seeing that movie?
Oh, I mean, if they were going to continue with it, I mean, that nightmare sequence, but that's the thing though. When he made the cut, and I think your signal was breaking up. And that's the thing though. That leads me into how I said, like, the Snyder cut is far from perfect, because there is a lot of shit in that movie that bloats the hell out of that movie. I mean, there's some stuff that still could have been 4 hours. It did not need to be 4 hours.
Half.
I mean, you could have taken out half the slow motion sequences alone and made it like an hour shorter than it was.
Not the Wonder Woman one, because that was amazing, and all the Flash ones.
Oh, well, the Flash ones have to be in slow motion. I mean, that's pretty much how you do the Flash. Look, what the hell was with all the Nordic singing after Aquaman went back?
Okay,
into the
that was weird.
That was kinky, but a little bit weird.
It basically equated to an opportunity for a girl to sniff his sweater. Like,
it was a little weird. Okay, yeah.
They don't have much interaction there. They like the fish smell.
No.
But I mean, so Snyder knew when he made his cut that they were not making another Justice League. They weren't going to continue on with the storyline. They told him that square one, you can do this, but there's not going to be any movies after this.
You're trying.
So they're trying, but it's not going to happen because Warner Brothers doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
AT&T wants to do it. Who owns Warner Brothers?
Yeah, so Daddy is telling Mommy, we want this, so we'll see. I mean, Walter Hamada could be on the chopping block. So who's the CEO of Time Warner? This could cause real problems for them because the AT&T, the top guys at AT&T love the Snyderverse, and the numbers came out, and they got a pretty substantial bump in their subscribership. And then with Godzilla versus Kong coming out, they could build entire Noob-Noob has said this. They could just give Zack Snyder, here, do HBO Max. We'll give you a nice budget. You can clearly do stuff like you don't have to spend $1 billion on it. You can do well with this, and then just release other movies that you want that could be outside of the continuity, whatever you want. There could be another Joker movie that's not the real Joker.
I will say, after seeing the Snyder cut of Justice League, would I watch further Zack Snyder versions? Yes, because I did enjoy what I got from Snyder from this cut. Again, it's not the masterpiece that people are making it out to be.
Pretty great.
It's pretty great. I could say if you want to say it's not a masterpiece, that's okay, but you have to say it's pretty great.
It's probably better than.
Is it the best R-rated superhero movie?
No.
What? If you say Deadpool, I'll smack the shit out of you.
No, fuck Deadpool. Logan.
Logan is really shallow at the very end. If I see any more in an X-Men movie, I'm going to call the police.
No, this is Logan was good, but this was great.
I think Logan is
very good, but I think it falls apart a little bit.
I mean, it's a father-son story, but still, it's
not a father-son story.
Logan, yeah, with Patrick Swayze,
girl?
Not Patrick Swayze.
You're
father, son, and daughter.
Yes, you're so. Yeah.
Do I even need to be part of this conversation anymore?
No. As soon as
Patrick Swayze's dead. Patrick Stewart.
It's fun because whenever that screen starts talking and Noob-Noob starts to open his mouth, I keep hovering over the add and subtract points. I don't know which direction to go, but I know that it's going to be one or the other.
I will say I don't think they deserve to lose any points over not feeling Logan is better than Justice League, because I mean it's all up to speculation. It's all up to opinion and how you feel. I personally think Logan, if I was given the choice between watching Justice League and Logan again, put aside the fact that Justice League is 4 hours and Logan's only 2.5, I'd probably still choose, even if they were equal time, I'd probably still choose Logan over Justice League.
I'm choosing. I've seen Logan. I'm choosing Justice League.
I've watched Justice League twice already. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Logan is not. It doesn't have a lot of replay value, does it? I don't know. I think I would venture you should go back and try it and be like, don't get me wrong. I like it a lot. I think it's very good, but it's no Justice League.
I'm reading some of the comments too. I'm beating around the bush on turning into a Snyder fan. I'm really not, because Man of Steel and BVS, I still feel like are garbage. I will tell you that when it comes to Snyder, there is one Snyder movie that I do absolutely love. As
300?
No, it's not 300 either.
If you say Sucker Punch, I swear to God.
Fuck, no, it's not.
That movie's no good.
No, I actually liked, and this is coming from someone who the original is one of his favorite it's one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. I love Dawn of the Dead. I think he did a great job with that movie.
The Watchmen. The unfilmable,
I enjoy
movie, and he made it, and it's a success. You might not love it, but I think it's a success.
That's a movie that's too long. Like, that's 3 hours. Yes. That feels like 5.
Have you ever watched the super cut of it? Oh,
yeah, the 3 hour version.
Oh, good Lord!
Watchmen. Watchmen was so long in itself that when HBO did the television series, even though I know it was more a prequel than a sequel to the series, I was like, nope, I've already seen enough Watchmen. I don't need to watch this.
That was terrible.
Also,
absolute garbage.
I never watched it, so I didn't even know.
I watched the whole thing, and I wish I had burned my eyes out.
I was crushed by Manhattan's penis instead of that. Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
So I mean, there are definitely, again,
if you want to see the nightmare, if we could get a movie with that Joker and that nightmare scenario,
you lost me at that Joker.
Jared Leto Joker is undeniable now.
I know. I'm not a fan of Leto's Joker.
Jared Leto Joker is. You must give him the proper respect of saying
Joker.
Jared Leto
not Joker.
Okay,
he's not Joker. Jared Leto Joker.
Jared Leto Joker. I'm not a fan of Jared Leto Joker. I mean, you went from Suicide Squad, which, let's be real, with the exception of introducing him for Harley's character, you could have taken him completely out of that movie and it wouldn't have changed a goddamn thing.
Do you want to see the Ayer
Release
cut?
the Ayer cut.
Release the Ayer cut.
I would watch the Ayer cut. Here's my thing, though. You went from Post Malone Jared Leto Joker to Jim Carrey Jim Carrey Jared Leto Joker. Like, I was watching the Joker in that nightmare sequence, and I'm he's like Jim Carrey.
No,
he reminded me of Fire Marshal Bill. I'm not gonna lie.
What do you mean? He's literally Brandon. What the hell is it? From The Crow. Brandon Lee. He's straight up Brandon Lee from The Crow.
I don't know. I just got very Fire Marshal Bill vibes when I watched that version of the Joker. And I've talked to a number of people who love the Snyder Cut and said the same thing. They're like, yeah, that nightmare sequence was pointless.
I think I specifically went back and rewatched it. And when I first saw it, I was on the same page as you. But when I went back and rewatched it, and I will give credit to the internet's janitor who changed my mind about Jared Leto Joker, that yes, I'm easily influenced by other critics.
Other janitors,
specifically janitors, and the internet janitor. He gave us, this is the R-rated Joker Batman interchange that we've never ever gotten to see, and I wish they had filmed it together, and they didn't shoot it separately because I feel like there's a little bit lost. But I think it gave us a promise of something that could be really possibly
disturbing.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. I think that's the point too is Jared Leto, even in old interviews, he would say things like, I think they were best friends and they were like really needed each other and lived off. And you're like, what are you talking about, dude? You're talking crazy talk. But then when you see it alive in Zack Snyder's vision, you're like, maybe this could work. Maybe this crazy, absolutely twisted, disturbed human that I've never seen on screen before could be a Jared Leto Joker.
Reach around.
I could live. I hate the Suicide Squad. This is that is such a bad movie. Unbelievably bad. Ayer swears he said, I read a quote that said, I made a great movie. Knows that he said that there's like at least 30 to 45 minutes of Jared Leto Joker that was cut out. Because you don't even know who he is based on that movie. You get nothing. You get some weird pimp who's pimping out Harley Quinn, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I just don't like that. And that's it. Like, that would be why I would be interested in seeing the Ayer cut, is because maybe it would change my mind on Leto's Joker. Jared Leto Joker. Sorry,
Jared Leto. He was in the music. He was in the music video for Purple Lamborghini more than the actual movie.
Yep, I saw it.
Oh my god! Yeah, he has.
Kind of a catchy song, really shitty, but kind of catchy.
What's it? Skrillex and
Rick Ross.
Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Which I like the song. I like the song and I like the soundtrack. It's just not, it's not the Joker that I know. I mean,
but I think that's the thing. This is what Zack Snyder does. He gives I think we talked about this before. He does really good cast and gives people an opportunity to redefine characters. To me, Christopher Reeve was my Superman, but upon seeing Henry Cavill, I can't see anyone else at this point going back and doing it, because that version is he's kind of defined a new version of it.
What about Nicolas Cage?
Always good. Think about the different versions of Batman.
No,
Oh my God, I would have paid to see that movie.
See, I will not disagree that I think if given the proper elements, and I'm not just talking director, I'm talking storyline, everything, which some people would say he got in Snyder's Justice League. I think Cavill could be, and I really do hope he comes back to play the part again in future films, because I do think he's got the potential to be an amazing Superman.
Right why now, would HBO kill? By the way, why would they not let him do more movies? The man literally had the #1 show on Netflix, was in one of the top grossing films of 2018 with Fallout.
#1 show. Oh, Cavill. Oh, yeah.
Why would they this act becoming super A-list and then just be like, yo, we don't want this guy to be the most popular character on Earth who's Superman because we don't want to admit that we made a mistake with Justice League.
Oh, they're stubborn assholes.
Yes, it just seems like they're stubborn jackasses because they paid Whedon essentially enough money to make an entirely additional movie that they could have filmed, but instead they retooled a movie that was perfectly fine. Do you think if they cut down Snyder's cut down to maybe 3 hours, you could have had a way better thing than what we got from Whedon?
Well, I mean, even in 4 hours, I already think we got something better than we got from Whedon. It's just, I still think it could be cut down.
It 100, dude. There were scenes from a technical perspective, and I've watched a lot of side by side scenes. There's literally scenes like flicking his gun from automatic from semi-automatic to automatic, and Zack Snyder's like, I gotta show that thumb movement. I'm like, bro, you didn't need to see that.
I'm
thumb
not
movement.
Sure he actually cut anything from his.
That's
his
what
movie.
I feel.
He was just like, I filmed 4 hours. We gonna show 4 hours.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the thing that I will actually give props to Snyder about is that this 4 hour cut, there is not one single element. There's not one single second of Whedon's cut in the Snyder cut. Everything is either alternate takes or new material or stuff that wasn't used. So, I mean, there's not one identical scene from Whedon's cut that is in Snyder's cut, which just goes to show you that actually looks really bad for Whedon, is because you had this much material to work with, whether it's what you shot or Snyder shot, and this is what you gave us?
Why? Yeah. Well, I think we had a whole debate not a debate, but we had a whole breakdown of this where we feel that it's ultimately the studio's fault. Not that Whedon's not a scumbag or whatever, but when you tell someone we need a 2 hour movie and you need to take what this dude already did and cut it down to 2 hours and make it make sense, but you also got to make it funny, like an Avenger movie. Make sure you put in terrible jokes. That's what you got. You literally, if they gave him a list of things they wanted him to do, which was make jokes, make it look brighter, hit the saturation button, and make it 2 hours, he did exactly what they told him to do. He should have had enough guts to be like, yo, this is a piece of crap.
No, he's like, free money?
Free money? I'll take it.
All that needed was was J.J. Abrams' lens flares to make it a signature horrible movie.
Ooh, well, J.J. Abrams would have made a better version than Whedon.
Oh yeah, well, I
J.J.
like
Abrams?
JJ.
Yeah, JJ lens flare
more than Whedon.
How many franchises now?
More than Whedon.
He ruined Star Trek.
Whoa, this is going to be a whole nother episode.
Oh my god! Are you telling me that Into Darkness is a real movie? That's not a real movie. It's not a real movie.
I enjoy the new Star Trek movies.
Oh my god! You are part of the downfall of Star Trek. You have stolen Star Trek from us. You were part of that.
What's next?
You probably like Picard and Discovery too, don't you?
I do like Picard and Discovery.
Oh my god! You're ruining Star Trek for the purists.
What about?
You're destroying our beloved Star Trek.
Do you like Star Wars Episode 8?
Episode 8 was
Rian Johnson.
That was not Rise of Skywalker. That was
the middle one.
Last Jedi.
The one where Snoke is cut in half.
All right.
This is off topic, but
Yoda is about to come out to fight you.
It's off topic, but it's given listeners a basis as to why I feel the way I feel about certain things. I will honestly say that with the exceptions of episodes 1 and 2, I've enjoyed all the Star Wars movies, except Rogue One. I was not a fan of Rogue One.
Rogue One is garbage. Oh, they're all garbage.
Episode 8 is
Solo's
really garbage.
All of them are good. There is not a good movie in the batch.
Right. Points have not been exchanged for that last 5 minutes conversation because we were talking about Star Wars and Star Trek.
And Star Trek.
Well, we're talking because JJ. It's relevant though.
We're gonna
because JJ Abrams is going to ruin Superman even worse than he did before.
We're gonna pop into
Superman. I just brought it up as a what if.
No, he's gonna. They gave him a movie. He's gonna direct Superman. It's gonna be a black Superman. They should just make it Icon. You'd think they already have a great character that deserves
Abrams doing the Black Superman though?
He is.
I know he was doing a DC movie, but I didn't know it was supposed to be Superman.
Yeah,
it's Superman. Yeah.
I that bothers me because you're shortchanging a really great character and Icon, and they're going to make it like Elseworld Superman. So I don't even know if it's going to make sense.
And I know Scott's trying to get in another topic, but I just want to say real quick, going back to how you said Cavill, and this is what started this whole rolling of this boulder rolling. How you said like Cavill is your definitive Superman now. Christopher
redefined.
Okay, yeah, he redefined it because Reeves is will always be my Superman.
I think that's fair.
Tyler Hoechlin, however, though, in the Arrowverse, especially pertaining right now to Superman and Lois, is fucking nailing the role.
Oh yeah, no, I love that
Dean
show.
Cain, I know the chat was saying that Dean Cain was pretty good. I thought
Dean Cain was an amazing Superman.
He fit the role really well.
Yeah.
Well,
I was actually.
And let's get back into the chat then. So we have Z's former best friend is saying, I don't know what could have been cut to get down to 3 or less hours without taking away from the story. Doc starts pointing out scenes. Were all those necessary? Doc says when he rescued the boat captain and the underwater scene with that dude from Spider-Man.
I'll just say that the scene where he saves the boat captain actually defines his character, defines Aquaman's character, because Aquaman he's almost like Superman. He parallels Superman on some level.
He's like a nomadic do-gooder.
He's a nomadic do-gooder who, and when they, and because this is where I criticize that other critic Vito, when they play that song when he's smashing the bottle and there's that amazing footage of the waves coming across him, and they play that like kind of weird song about the king, where's the king gone, and he's the reluctant king. So they're giving you the scene about the man truly is good and wants to do good, but doesn't yet have his mission. And at the end of the movie, he says, I need to go see my father, because he realized the importance of having a strong relationship with his father from Cyborg, from Barry Allen, thus reinforcing my theme. So I think that scene's actually pretty important. What was the other scene that Doc said? Oh, the scene with Spider-Man. Yeah, I think he was just setting up
the scene with Willem Dafoe.
Which I think he was kind of just
setting actually Green
up,
Goblin.
Yeah, I think he was just kind of setting up Aquaman for James Wan. I mean, I could see that could kind of get cut away.
One bad thing about the Snyder Cut is that there was more Amber Heard.
Is she British or not?
She's not British, and I get like that was one of the things that kind of threw me for a minute too when I watched that scene. I'm like, wait a minute, Mara's got a British accent. She didn't have a British accent in Aquaman. Well, that's because they filmed all this stuff before they filmed Aquaman, and when they didn't use any of that footage in Justice League, that was when James Wan said, like, okay, you can drop the British accent because they didn't use it.
Talking. Did you notice that he changed
the bubbles?
He changed it where when they talk in the water, they use clicks just like dolphins would. But when they want to speak person to person, you have to remove all the water so you could talk. James Wan was like, I can't do a whole movie like that, bro. You got to let them talk underwater.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the creative decision. Like, I like what Zack Snyder did with that. I thought that was really cool.
That's not practical for a 2 hour,
it's
2.5 hour
I
movie.
agree with that. James Wan was given, I mean, that movie sucks, but James Wan was given nothing. Yeah, they basically speak like dolphins.
He made a false statement, minus 10 points. Who are you referring? Yeah, who made the statement and what was the statement? I'm just curious what it was.
Doc, if you can pull a statement up and we can check and make sure that there was a false statement made, then it will be affecting the points here.
Oh, he's saying it's you, Ben.
I know. Apparently, I'm the one that lost it.
Why?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I don't know. Something about whatever you said was
August
false.
6th is Suicide Squad release on HBO.
That has
Max.
nothing to do with that.
Has nothing to do with it. And theaters.
Come on, Doc. Type faster.
He made false statement minus 10 points. I don't know. Doc's fact checking. So
All right,
Got to be careful out there.
We'll give Doc the opportunity there for a second to say.
You may have had the fan base in the chat turn on you when you were disparaging all the great work of TNG and Picard, the absolute farce.
But Scott also said there were no points exchanged during that.
You are correct. Yeah, that might get disqualified.
Yeah.
About movie.
Come on, Doc. About movie. Doc, you need to give us a little bit more there. All right. So with that, so until Doc can give us what that false statement was, so we can go ahead and fact check him. We started to get into this conversation, but this kind of is going to take us through all the movies. The storyline. Does the DCU storyline hold up? Is it a coherent storyline through all the movies? Because we know they were trying to do the same thing that Marvel was. Did they do it right? Can the storyline hold up? And is it actually a coherent storyline?
Were you talking about the trilogy, like Zack Snyder's trilogy, or the whole DCEU?
Well,
because they don't have the same pilot.
We are looking at, these movies are supposed to lead together. Even when we're talking about Aquaman saying, I need to go see my father, that was supposed to lead into the Aquaman movie. The Wonder Woman movies, of course, BVS and
Zack Snyder. We could talk about the movies that Zack Snyder had a hand in casting.
So,
but when it comes to the overlying story, though, in the DCEU, Snyder's I fact checked that there are no original scenes from the two movies. When you talk about the overlying storyline of the DCEU, the Snyder trilogy really is the only coherent storyline, because Aquaman kind of stands on its own in just mentioning events that happened from Justice League,
which I think was intentional.
Both Wonder Woman movies take place before any of the Snyderverse stories even happen, which really only leaves you with Shazam and Suicide Squad,
Snyder
which kind of stand alone on their own.
And help direct Wonder Woman 1, though. So he was a part of it. I think that's a point that should be made, is that he is, because we talked about this with he's responsible for casting the majority of the key characters, including Suicide Squad, which we were debating that, right? We didn't know if he cast Harley Quinn, but he definitely did. How do we know that?
Suicide Squad was 2016.
We were trying to figure out whether or not, because I felt like she's kind of the definitive, like she perfectly, as much as DC's struggling to sell her.
I think Margot Robbie is fucking brilliant as Harley Quinn.
I love her as Harley Quinn. I just don't think they're putting her in the right vehicles. I think I don't know what Birds of Prey was.
You mean the purple Lamborghini's not a perfect vehicle for her?
Oh, no. Sorry. Movie, like, why set up a movie? Oh my, there's so much wrong with Birds of Prey. Like, you want to
there
talk
is
about
a lot wrong with Birds of Prey.
Like, come on, if you compare Zack Snyder's trilogy to like something like Birds of Prey, where it's just literally the most forgettable joke of a movie that's not even like it's like literally nothing. Yet, 7 years later, we're still debating. I feel like whether or not you like it or you hate it, BVS and Man of Steel had a cultural impact. And to me, I've always fought on this, is that BVS was the start of the culture wars. Is one of the reasons why I defend it so much, is because the critics hated that movie.
I mean, there's plenty of fans that hate it too.
And it made a lot. There's not as many as you think, because the 4K,
I don't hate it.
The real 4K, the real render of the 4K just came out, was recently released, completely sold out everywhere. Physical copies cannot be found.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
I should have bought it.
Just came out.
Fuck.
And there's plenty of videos on YouTube about people not being able to get copies of it because it's sold out everywhere. And I just think, like, we can look back from the Snyder Cut and say, hey, the guy truly had a vision. If I go and watch the Ultimate Edition and I watch the director's cut of Man of Steel, I can appreciate
There's
it.
no director's cut. There's not a director's cut of Man of Steel.
There is. There is. Look it up.
Well, that
you have a thing in front of you that looks things up.
That may you may lose points on your own for fact checking yourself. Doc was saying that and let's backtrack for a second. Doc did say that he's saying that Ben made a false statement about all original, no same scenes for the two movies. Doc, I do agree that is not a false statement. We did see a lot of scenes that were repeated in both movies.
But they were alternate cuts.
Not
like
just alternate cuts,
is the best
but
example.
also same scenes. But you can't get too specific about that. The cyborg crashing into the Batcrawler is the same exact scene from both movies. Now, 2 seconds later, he shoots one missile where Steppenwolf says puny humans or whatever bullshit, and then the second version, he just lets the missile go and boom tubes right out. So
I'll give you another good example. The scene on top of Gotham PD with Gordon is an alternate take, because in Whedon's version, Aquaman is there. In the Whedon version, in the Snyder cut, they don't meet Aquaman until after that scene. And he shows up when they're in the sewers. Yeah,
he comes and rides the waves and saves
It is
them.
an alternate take, and there are no scenes from Whedon's version that they use.
Yeah, that
does not mean that some scenes are not identical, because they were filmed as part of a take. But there are everything he used was either cut material or alternate takes of what was filmed.
Yeah, Whedon's the one who stole Snyder's material and then just recut it with shitty jokes.
That's the way I look at it. When I saw it, my first gut reaction was so what Whedon did was change the saturation, and then he bastardized his cut, because there are several key scenes that are reshot, but there's no like original scenes that are completely different. Like the only ones that are in the first 20 minutes, like that intro, which is still a spliced, bastardized version of a lot of stuff that Snyder had already filmed. And then and like the weird part of that song where he's trying to duplicate like a Snyder opening, because it's like a Watchmen copy, right? He's playing that song like everybody knows. And then there's the worst scene possibly put to film in a superhero movie, where Batman has monsters that smell fear that he wants to trap.
Now, Scott, this is going to be a challenge for you.
How did we get so close to points? This seems rigged.
Well, I don't know how you're going to I don't know how you're going to handle this next part, because Z said there is a Man of Steel director's cut.
Oh,
There's not. Said there isn't, and I fact check it as well. There isn't.
There's not. So what? Hold on.
Zack Snyder has addressed the possibility of a director's cut, but as of now, there is no director's cut of Man of Steel.
Yeah. There wasn't one, and then he said there was a few cut scenes, and he said Man of Steel was basically exactly what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And I feel like, as much as I would like the points, even though this is going to
whoa.
Wait, no, see, I disagree.
Here's the thing.
I was actually going to say that even though it will put me out of the lead, I kind of feel like you have to give that to Noob-Noob for that.
I usually don't fact check shit. We should be -5 for Z's mistake, +10 for my improvements as a fact checker.
Well, you lost 10
points to Gryffindor, man.
Points.
There's no different version of, there's not even,
so
not necessarily
15.
a director cut.
I want +5 for my fact checking.
What about a slight different version?
Noob, you're still wearing a Dallas shirt.
It doesn't matter.
Everything you do doesn't matter.
I was on your side for that.
I'll take it off.
Everything
for
doesn't.
+10 points.
Tell you what. Okay, Noob, because you finally did something, and it only took 5 years for you to finally do something, I'll give you 2 points.
I'll fact check this. We haven't been doing that 5 years. We haven't been doing this 5 years.
So Scott loses.
It's another fact check +5 points.
There you go. 2 more points for fact checking me. We've been doing this for 3. You're now down. You're now down by.
Do I get +10 if I take off the shirt?
I admit my mistake, and I have made everyone in the room less smart for it.
Noob, I'll give you 5 of my points to keep your shirt on.
Okay, I'll take that bet. All right, let's go. All right.
And there they go. And that'll tie it up.
All right.
All right, Scott.
My shirtlessness does something.
This is up to you. What do you have something you want to fit? I think we made some compelling arguments on both sides. But what do you want to
Here's how I think we're going to wrap this up. And so, guys, try to plan your finishing arguments while I set this up.
I don't know what I'm arguing.
We have so Ben's side was.
I feel like we're arguing the same thing.
Why does Justice League suck? Now this is your opportunity to pull away the biggest why did it suck, and let's open this up to the entire Justice League universe. All the movies are on the table.
I have to say why.
This doesn't make sense.
Justice
yeah,
League sucks?
because if we're talking about Whedon, we both agree that it sucked. So
Yes, that was.
Can Scott have a point counter? He loses points for not making a good
Can we
argument.
put Scott with a point counter.
Look, I'm just trying to make some bullshit up right now because I got a 5-minute counter. I was going to give each of you 5 minutes. So figure out your. God damn it.
Scott, minus 10 points for being a host.
What about just final arguments on the trilogy as to why it doesn't, why the Zack Snyder trilogy either does or does not make sense? So
I will give you that. And now each of you will be given a 5-minute counter and will award
we have
points.
to talk for 5 minutes.
I know.
Huh?
Really?
All right, fine. Let's make it 3 minutes. 3 minutes it is.
I think that might even be too long, but okay.
Well, I mean, you can also give up time if you want.
You can concede your time. Yeah.
You can
How
give up time
how
if you
about
want.
should people spend their hard-earned dollars if it came out on DVD? Why they should not, in your case, spend their hard-earned money on the trilogy collection from Zack Snyder? Is that a fair argument?
Is that fair, Ben? Do you accept those terms?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, then we will start. Do we want to flip a coin to decide who starts, or do we have a volunteer?
Oh, it's all on Noob-Noob.
What?
Noob-Noob, don't you have a compelling argument for this? First of all, he's the DCU guy. He's the DC guy.
I'm the DC guy.
I'm not a DC guy. I never really collected DC comics. I never really. I liked like the Batman breaking his back, Death of Superman. That's it. I didn't collect any other. You asked me about X-Men or Spider-Man. I had them all. You know, I don't know anything about the DC.
Tell you
so
what,
how
then.
I got stuck defending this, other than the fact that I'm a Zack Snyder fan, I don't know.
Noob-Noob.
So it's on you.
Noob-Noob, we will pick a number between 1 and 100. If you pick the right number, you guys get to go first.
37.
Well, you were wrong. We knew that was
Okay.
Wow.
So, Ben, you
I feel like
have
the odds
chance.
were really stacked against you on that one.
So here's the opportunity. Points will be awarded for every salient point you make. You have 3 minutes on the clock. You can take more or less if you want because we really don't care. But you may begin.
All right. I feel like a lot of these points are pretty much going to be repeated from what we already said. But when it comes to the Snyderverse, that in particular, Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, either the Whedon cut or the Snyder cut, I feel as a comic book viewer or as a lover of these fan of these characters, I do feel like they're worth a watch at least one time. I feel like anything that is created with these likenesses in mind, whether it's television, movies, whether you end up liking it at the end or not, you should still give them a watch. So from that regards, should you spend your money to watch these movies? Yes, absolutely. My question comes into play is, do you want to spend your money to watch them again? Me personally, it's a tough call. Whedon, if you continue on with the Whedon Justice League, there's not a good movie in that lot. I still stand by the fact that Man of Steel is a horrible movie. BVS, slightly improved, not great. Snyder's Justice League, I'll give it to him. It's a good movie. I did enjoy watching it. Man of Steel has a lot of issues. The death of Jonathan Kent is a major issue. The destruction that should not have happened, even in a character from like Superman, who is about humanity and about saving humanity. Superman would have never let all of that death and destruction happen. It's a comparison I've made similar times before if you look at the Christopher Reeve Superman, when he's facing Zod in that situation, all they do is slightly lift up a bus, and Superman backs off. And he's like, nope, we're done. This fight is over. We'll take it to the Fortress of Solitude, and we'll finish it up there so that people don't get hurt. Meanwhile, you have Snyder, who wants to put on this big bombastic display in which humanity is disregarded. That's my biggest issue with Man of Steel. So as far as the rest of the DCEU, yeah, watch it once. Watch Snyderverse once. That's pretty much all I really have to say, I guess. So I bide the rest of my time.
All right, very well. We'll give you 2 more points for biding the rest of your time, not taking too damn long. All right, Z, You have the choice here. Do you want to give Noob-Noobs 30 seconds? And remember, this 30 seconds can decide whether you start at 51 points or you start at less points.
No, I want to see if Noob-Noob can make a coherent point because he hasn't made one yet. So let's see what his interpretation of why the Snyderverse is a good universe to watch.
Noob-Noob, you have
spend their hard-earned money.
minute.
He has spent his hard-earned money. Let's go.
Doc's already in the chat saying, no, do not let this happen. Unfortunately, Doc, we have to let this happen. Noob-Noob, you Doc saying keep him quiet. Noob-Noob, you have 1 minute. Begin.
Sure. I would say the Snyderverse, the trilogy between Man of Steel, BVS, Ultimate Cut, and the Snyder Cut of Justice League is the most emotionally resonant trilogy that you could have compared from anything in the DCU combined or Marvel. I would say stylistically, it shows Zack Snyder is well above and beyond anything Marvel has done, and the attention to detail that he puts in just in a BVS scene, for example. The opening for Batman, there is multiple breakdowns from a stylistic standpoint that shows how when Batman is falling, the tones of the music start going deeper. When he's rising, they go up. Like that alone shows the attention to detail and care that Snyder puts into his universe more than anything else I think Marvel or even any other DCEU director has put in. So that's alone, I would say that's worth well a price of admission more than once.
Wow. I mean, you didn't take your full minute, but you lost your team 11 points.
Okay. Well, fuck you.
He made some pretty. I can't believe he actually strung together a
He did.
handful of.
I'm more surprised than anything else.
Bunch of gay dicks, Snyder. Oh! Do I get plus 30 points for that? Nope.
Yep, you just lost 10.
All right, so I give an actual argument. I do gay shit. I feel like I'm gonna lose either way.
I'm actually no. You know what? We'll be fair. We'll give you back those 10 points. I was just fucking with you there because you had to make some stupid dick comment. But I actually am more surprised than anything else that this is the first time Noob-Noob has maybe made a coherent argument for more than 10 seconds. He made 53 seconds on that. I'm impressed. Z.
I didn't know I had time. He was making our argument for us. He heard everything I had to say.
Well, that's your call then. Z, do you want to try to make a comeback? Or I'll tell you what, I'll make it a bonus round. All your points are doubled for the next 3 minutes. Do you want to try to make the argument?
All points are double for what? The next 5
for
minutes?
For the next 3 minutes. You have a chance to make a comeback. Admittedly, you have the Noob-Noob handicap. We'll try to take that away. For the next 3 minutes, you have...
Scott really wants me to do this, so
why do you want to spend your money on this universe? You may be...
Okay. So let's start with just watchability. You know, these are movies that I've said have a cultural touchstone and a cultural poignance. You know, you take two of the greatest auteurs of our time, and yeah, I could see Zack Snyder's a little bit on the fence there, but Christopher Nolan clearly has a vision. He helped create and forge this vision from when he became the producer of Man of Steel and really kind of helped guide Zack Snyder through a lot of this stuff, where then it truly became Zack Snyder's idea. We're talking about one of the greatest casting directors probably existing right now. You couldn't envision anybody else playing some of these characters right now. There isn't any better actors to play Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman. He literally took the lamest character you've ever seen in any comic book ever, Aquaman, and turned him into a badass bro. I mean, the guy, and even what he's done for just, I hate to say diversity and inclusion, but I'm pretty sure the Snyder Cut proves that you can have a really inclusive story that's extremely poignant and important to people, but not shove woke politics down people's throats, and at the same time have like really, really great actors, like even the poor kid who played Cyborg, Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
Ray Fisher gets the shortest stick of all in these course of these movies, where he had a cameo in BVS, but then his entire storyline gets cut out. And just getting to see this young actor who could potentially be a really bright star in the future, I think it's worth the price of admission. Not to mention, you get to see some of the greatest literal comic book frames it put in movies. I mean, he places these comic books in front of you and brings them to life, where you get to see the destruction of Metropolis. You get to see, the grizzled old Batman. You get to see the Bat Tank. Who's bringing the Bat Tank to you? You don't get to see the Bat Tank unless you pay attention to Zack Snyder. So I think that overall, between that and the themes that resonate, where you literally have the first movie, which is Man of Steel, that's a discussion of a person torn between two fathers, whether it's his alien father or like his biological father or his stepfather in essence. And then you have BVS, which is about the relationship between men, these men and their mothers, where their mothers have framed a lot of their relationships in life. And then you have the story of Cyborg and Flash. And even when Kent is being reborn, Superman is being reborn. I have 8 seconds.
I'm sorry, I hit that early. Go ahead.
And the picture of Pa Kent is coming out with him as he's being reborn, illustrates the relationship of fathers and sons. And I think those themes are extremely important to people and resonate with the fan base in general.
There you go. And what an amazing argument. Z makes a comeback. Noob-Noob, what do you think?
Don't you have an opinion on my argument there? Did I make a good argument? Did I say anything that you really want to win this, don't you? Wow, he actually has. Oh man.
Oh my God. And in a very unexpected turn of events.
Absolutely unexpected. I am not expecting any of this.
Noob-Noob keeps his mouth shut, allowing Orc U to take the lead 76-70.
That was Noob-Noob's reaction to not speaking to the mic is totally worth losing.
It is worth it. It is worth the price of admission alone. We still see. I believe that this is the first of several great debates.
I hope so.
We already brought some to the table. I might get. I hope I don't get smoked in the Star Trek one, because I care more about Star Trek than I care about the DC universe. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it. Yeah, I did enjoy those movies. I don't know if it's enough to debate them, but it could be fun to do it anyway.
Oh, I think we just have. We'll just have a solid conversation upon which Noob-Noob ruins everything.
I mean, we could. I mean, we actually had Z's former best friend in the chat said earlier that Star Trek Next Generation was the best thing ever. So we could go very deep with that universe as well. But you know what?
Doc says it was actually a tie.
This was a lot of fun. Ben.
Man, for my second time coming on, I've had a blast both times, so I'm happy to come back on anytime.
That's right.
Seriously.
Ben, thank you so much. Ben, why don't you tell us for a minute what you got going on coming up?
So Next Level Podcast Network is where everything I do can be found, which is the nextlevelnetwork.com, facebook.com/the Next Level Network. There are a number of podcasts on there, but there are 3 that I am a part of. I have The Spotlight, which is where I interview celebrities. I'm getting ready to enter into my 7th season with that. We have to go back, Lost Revisited, which is a weekly Lost rewatch podcast that I do. And this week we're actually doing the season 4 finale this week. And then Wilhelm, which is my film centric podcast, which is launching in April. So all information on where you can subscribe to any of them, just go to thenextlevelnetwork.com. Everything's right there.
Where's the Wilhelm drop, Scott?
Oh, you know what? I did. I dropped the ball on that one. Sorry. I
There you go.
apologize. So definitely go check out all of that. And of course, go to ourreviewswillkillyou.com/links to check out everything that we are doing, where you can find, of course, you're watching us on YouTube, but what we also do have the podcast for you to listen to. And this audio will also be getting released on our Patreon. We want you guys to check that out as well. ourreviewswillkillyou.com/links to check that out. And you know what, Ben? I like you. I'm going to put some of Ben's links onto our link page as well, so you can go find his stuff by going to, I'll say it one more time, ourreviewswillkillyou.com/links. links. Ben, thank you again for coming out with us tonight. Z, Noob-Noob, I saw something tonight I thought I would never see in my life, and that's Noob-Noob
He's scared.
actually not saying a word. I think we're going to have to do this more often just for that simple fact. Gentlemen, this was a great debate. Thank you both for coming out. I am Scott, your referee, and I'm going to say good night to you all.
Baby Yoda's! Baby Yoda party!
Dragon Ball Z.